Okay, as you can see, my engine looks quite a bit different. It's got an electric starter, it's got a flywheel with a ring gear, it's got wires coming out from around the starter that are hooked up through a 6-pin. I don't know if I'm going to keep the 6-pin on here or not. I might just cut it about right here so I can reuse the actual connector, the Molex. But if you saw the short, that kind of spoiled it. It cranks over. The short was the very first time ever cranking it over with the electric start. I cannot start it. It has no oil in it. I still got to change out the oil dipstick tube or find a cap for the vacuum line, since I'm not going with a fuel pump anymore on this. I have really no idea what this engine would have came out of. It had some electrical, but it didn't have a charging system. It had some electrical for the kill. That was pretty much it. Let me disconnect the jumper pack. Also, it has on the throttle body this piece to hold it constantly on idle. So, or this screw can come out and you can adjust it this way right here. That's most likely, yeah, like this. So it has like an automatic throttle that holds it in place. So there's no cable hooked up to it, which is kind of interesting. I might end up just swapping this out with the throttle body from the parts engine. Be a lot easier. This actually has a brand new spark plug in it. That's what's still back in it. It's got no oil, like I said. I got to fill it up with oil. That's why I don't want to crank it anymore or hook up the spark plug wire and see if it will go rum rum rum. Like I said, I left the provisions for the pull start. I've already had the top cover on. It does work. This starter cup and the fan are the stock ones from the original flywheel and that were on this engine. All that's changed is the actual flywheel itself. The flywheels are identical, besides this one having a ring gear and the charging circuit built in. So I got lucky there. All these parts came off the parts engine. There's some of the remaining parts right there. Those will be going on another engine. Sorry about that I have. Just drank some Coke. Got the burps. So anyways, that's pretty much it. So if anyone has any ideas on what this engine may have came off of, please leave them in the comment section below. Whatever it was red, or it just had overspray on it, as you can see right here. But as far as I know, the sump is a standard bolt pattern, which I really hope it is. It'll kind of screw me over if it's not, since the sump on the parts engine has an oil filter, and this definitely doesn't have provisions for an oil filter. Whatever this was on, I don't think it was used overly much. Judging by the muffler, the way that looks, it's not all black, it's not all destroyed. Yes, there's rust on the exhaust pipe, so yes, the engine has definitely been ran. But like I said, it's got a brand new sparkulator in there. I have not dropped the bowl on the carburetor to see what condition that's in. I might end up doing that just to give me an idea on potential hours on this engine. I do have the provisions for backfire prevention solenoid right here. So if I run the 6-pin, I will leave everything. If I don't run the 6-pin, I might get rid of the backfire prevention solenoid wiring. We'll see. I would just have to get different connectors. So it's easier to run the 6-pin Molex. I just got to see if that other machine has the provisions for the backfire prevention solenoid, if it has the constant power feed in there or not. Because if I'm running this, I'm going to definitely hook it up and leave it there for the future. So if someone has to replace the carburetor down the road, and that's the only carburetor they can find, and they don't know enough to remove the backfire prevention solenoid, I want the provisions and wiring in place for it. So Just basically future-proofing this little engine. So it's, like I said, it's pretty much done now. I'm ready to put the top cover on, but I got to do the throttle body first. I'll do that tomorrow. It's a lot easier to do that with the top cover off. I got to change out the dipstick, or else I can find the plastic cap, and we'll go from there. So there we go. Little Briggs 11 horse from auction is almost ready to be fired up. I don't think it's going to have any knocks. When you turn it over, there's no noise in there. So it sounds pretty good. And there's really good compression. And as you saw, the jumper pack had no issues cranking it over, so there shouldn't be any issues with the cam. So that's another issue with these engines. It's in that same family of engines that do get the cam issues. So anyways, there we go. And yes, this has a metal geared flywheel on here, or a metal geared starter. And so it had the metal gear on the flywheel as well. I didn't have a plastic gear kicking around, and this flywheel happened to be the correct one for this starter, so I might as well run it. Why go out and buy a part and look for a different flywheel, which I know I have one, when this one is already pre-set up and ready to go? Might as well use it. And now I don't have to pull this one apart to change that gear out to a plastic gear, since most everything I run has a plastic gear. So these bolts here do need to come out. They should come out just from the head out. I do have replacements for these. As long as you don't disturb the rest of the head and don't try and start the engine with those two bolts removed, you don't have to worry about the head gasket. Also, with the flywheel nut, I did 4 abadugas, and it's tight enough. You do not need to get out the torque wrench and torque those bolts. I didn't torque nothing on here. I only torque stuff that needs to be torqued. So yeah, there we go. So I'll talk to them later. Please keep it redneck like always, and please subscribe and comment.